Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Welcome back to beautiful Warsaw for the 11th edition of the Warsaw Security Forum. My name is Federica d'Alessandra, and I will have the immense privilege of serving once again as your Master of Ceremony for the defense track on both days. It is truly remarkable to see so many of you back here for what has undoubtedly become one of the most impressive and important gathering of experts, dignitaries focusing on European and transatlantic security and relations. This year, we have over 20 ministerial delegations and more than 2,000 registered participants. Our utmost gratitude goes to the Kingdom of Sweden, NATO, the Polish National Security Bureau, and all of WSF's generous partners for bringing us together. As we gather today, the global security landscape seems to have grown ever more volatile. Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine remains the most significant direct and thematic threat to transatlantic stability and security. However, the challenges that we face extend far beyond Eastern Europe, with rising tensions in the Asia-Pacific, the Middle East on the brink of all-out war, and continued threats to civilian life and prosperity in virtually every corner of the world. Adding to all of this is certainly the uncertainty that surrounds the outcomes of the upcoming US presidential election, given the radically different visions that the two candidates hold about America's role in the world and the potential implications this might have for transatlantic relations and certainly European security. That is why the focus of this year's forum is Thinking Europe Anew. The 2024 Warsaw Security Forum report pushing the EU's agenda forward with the Weimar Triangle was produced by a remarkable, exceptional group of leaders in the defense, foreign policy, energy, state resilience, and other domains from Poland, Germany, France, and the EU. And it advocates precisely for the Weimar Triangle to take a leading role within the EU in critical areas such as defense, foreign policy, and energy, among others. In this climate of uncertainty, bold leadership is essential. Europe must act decisively to secure its future, raising important questions about its strategic posturing, as well as its future as a political and military actor in the current geopolitical landscape. To meet these challenges, Europe needs to strengthen its common defense strategy and ensure its military capabilities are prepared for the complex geopolitical landscape ahead. For this reason, our discussion today will focus on Europe's defense readiness, the future of transatlantic security and cooperation, and of course, how to support European industry as well as Ukraine's defense, prosperity, and future. Please note that all of the sessions here in the Warsaw room will be simultaneously translated from English to Polish. If you need, you can grab a headset at the entrance. And of course, if you're watching online, please do join in the conversation by using the hashtag WSF2024. Our track will last until 1:30, and then we will take a short break before we move on to the Global Outlook track. So as you can see, we have a very busy day ahead, and why don't we just make a start? Without further ado, it gives me immense pleasure to invite to the stage our gracious host, Zbigniew Pisarski, president of the Casimir Pulaski Foundation. Zbigniew, please join me on stage.
Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Prime Minister, ministers, ambassadors, generals, members of Parliament and Armed Forces, ladies and gentlemen. This year marks the 11th anniversary of the Warsaw Security Forum, and it is a particular year, a year of European and American elections, which results will determine for the years to come a new transatlantic agenda. The new Secretary General of NATO is also starting his term precisely in the exact moment we run the Warsaw Security Forum. It is very telling and symbolic. This year is also particular because with hindsight, we see an unprecedented deterioration in international security. Not only do I mean continuing Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the war in Gaza and Lebanon, which can spiral into a wider regional conflict, the dramatic situation in Sudan, or the increasingly rising tensions in Southeast Asia. We have more wars worldwide, increasing war casualties, higher military spending, growing great powers rivalry, and severe food insecurity. Last year, the global military expenditures reached the highest ever level recorded. There were more battle-related deaths than for the 40 previous years per annum. 56 countries experienced armed conflict. Today, 1 in 6 people on the planet is exposed to conflict. Elsewhere in the world, wherever we look at, we see that our planet is more violent, hotter, unpredictable, and more difficult to manage by humans. It also means that our way of life to date cannot be sustained. These are not simply several problems we have to solve. It is a systemic challenge to which we must transform ourselves and transform the way we govern our countries. Our Warsaw Security Forum is placed phenomenally for the kind of discussion how to tackle this challenge. This year, Poland is the #1 country in NATO in terms of percent of GDP spent on defense and security. We reached more than 4%, and next year we aim even more. Our army will be the 3rd biggest in the entire NATO and the largest on European soil of the alliance. Therefore, I'm very proud to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, on this defense track of the Warsaw Security Forum. You are in the right place and at the right moment. The 11th edition of the forum is focused primarily on the near and mid-term strategic challenges that we must deal with and confront, helping Ukraine to defend freedom and win the war, getting ready to deter any adversaries of transatlantic unity and security, building Europe's defense capability, thinking through the transatlantic agenda, building multi-layered resilience, and shaping the place of the Central and Eastern Europe and the Northern Europe in the security architecture of the continent. Our next edition of the Warsaw Security Forum's report is focused this year on the potential of the Weimar Triangle, Germany, France, and Poland, not only to cooperate more strongly, but to trigger necessary changes to Europe too. It also contains the defense and security part. Therefore, I encourage you to read it carefully. We uphold the tradition of having a partner country every year. In 2024, it is the government of Sweden, a new member of our NATO alliance. We are very grateful to Sweden that it takes over that role. Welcome Sweden to NATO and to the Warsaw Security Forum. We also want to thank our strategic partners, the National Security Bureau, which aids the President of Poland, Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Polish Ministry of Defense, and the NATO headquarters, for their contribution to make this event happen. Thanks to our numerous partners, sponsors, first-class distinguished speakers, and the great audience which we have every year, we hope to bring you here in Warsaw for 2 impactful days. Ladies and gentlemen, for our 2-day journey during the 2024 Warsaw Security Forum, let us continue for the 11th time to advance our common thinking on how to make the world a safer place, how to rely on better angels of our nature. We have to build positive peace, the attitude, institutions, and structures that create and sustain peaceful societies. Eleanor Roosevelt once famously said, "It is not enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it is not enough to believe in it. One must work at it." Let me wish you a wonderful time and work at the Warsaw Security Forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zbigniew, for getting off to a great start. And now it gives me immense pleasure to invite to this stage Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defense, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz. Your Excellency, please join me on stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the invitation to the forum. Congratulations to the think tank community for organizing this event with the great support from the Swedish government, a partner country to the Warsaw Security Forum 2024. At the very beginning, I would like to emphasize that today's security challenges touch on a whole range of possible security areas. The flood that has recently affected southeastern Poland has shown the importance of the Polish armed forces for the security of the region and its citizens, also in times of peace. We have designated both operational and territorial defense forces to provide quick assistance and deal with the effects of this natural disaster. Fighting the consequences of the flood is a complex process of multi-level activities, planning, and long-term works. Thus, we have started the Phoenix operation. Its main goal is to mitigate the effects of flood among local communities and accelerate the reconstruction of infrastructure. The operation involves the armed forces as well as governmental and local authorities, and we will run the Phoenix operation as long as necessary. Now let me say a few words about international security and defense challenges. In light of the ongoing war in Europe and its regional and global implication, we must engage in a debate on Russia's aggressive policies. It is crucial to emphasize that the potential collapse of an independent Ukraine would have catastrophic consequences. Such an event would likely encourage not only Putin in Europe, but also other regimes worldwide to pursue their objectives through military means. A key component of our debate must focus on ensuring international security guarantees for Ukraine, which urgently needs our support. We must make every effort to welcome Ukraine as a member of NATO. We are also concerned about the increasing military integration between Russia and Belarus. Belarus is openly weaponizing illegal migration. As a result, migrants are attacking Polish soldiers, border guards, and police officers. To counter this risk, we have deployed our troops at the border with the potential to increase the number to approximately 70,000 troops. Please bear in mind that this is not only to protect the Polish border, but also the borders of the European Union and NATO. We remain committed to NATO's 360-degree approach, addressing challenges related to the Middle East and North Africa. Poland also actively participates in efforts to counter and prevent terrorism. The Israeli military says it has begun a limited ground operation against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Whatever it means, our soldiers, like other soldiers of the United Nations mission, remain safe in UNIFIL bases. President Biden sharply tells Israel to stop raids inside Lebanon. Our goal is to prevent a spillover of conflict in the Middle East into the broader region, which would have negative consequences for Europe as well. The security of Europe and the Indo-Pacific is more and more interdependent, with potential domino effects. If Russia's invasion of Ukraine were to be successful, such an outcome could escalate tensions in the Indo-Pacific and furthermore encourage Putin to intensify aggressive actions in Europe. We should continue implementing the decisions approved at NATO summits in Madrid, Vilnius, and Washington, D.C., which focused on deterrence and defense. The European Union is adapting to a new international security environment, particularly visible in extended support for Ukraine, including in military domain. The defense industries in our countries must adapt to extraordinary demands by increasing military production, especially in ammunition and self-defense capabilities. We must remember that the future security role of the European Union should be assessed in relation to NATO. In this context, the development of European defense capabilities should aim to enhance collective defense. We should never forget that the close cooperation between the European Union and NATO is an essential element of our future security. Poland remains committed to defense cooperation with the US and other allies, ensuring a stable and enduring allied military presence in our territory. The Polish defense policy is based on the three principles: international cooperation, modernization of the Polish armed forces, and building social resilience against threats. As a country neighboring hostile regime in Moscow and Minsk, we have had rapidly extend our armed forces' operational capabilities within a very limited time frame. I wish to highlight that Poland's total defense expenditures will reach 4.2% of GDP this year and 4.7% next year. Consequently, we are dedicating appropriate funds to significantly increase the operational capabilities of the Polish armed forces across all domains. Under the National Defense and Deterrence Plan, codename East Shield, we are securing our eastern border through a system of fortifications. This initiative is a crucial element of our deterrence by denial strategy and will significantly protect NATO's and European Union's borders. We are all facing challenges that necessitate a comprehensive approach to defense policy and national security. We must respond to current security challenges and prepare for the future uncertainties. We must remember that in our interconnected world, the defense potential of NATO and defense capabilities of the European Union play a crucial role in global security and the future of all nations. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the enlightening discussion that will unfold during this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for this sobering reminder of the challenges ahead and certainly of Poland's commitment and contributions to European and world security. And now it gives me immense pleasure to welcome to the stage Jacek, Siewiera, Secretary of State of Poland's head of the National Security Bureau. Please join me to the stage.
Distinguished Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, dear Kosiniak Zbigniew, organizers of Warsaw Security Forum, honorable ministers, generals, ladies and gentlemen. At the beginning, I have two informations, good and bad. Bad is that my team prepared me 7 pages of my statement. The good news is that I forgot it. But I also realize that we are meeting in a moment of extraordinary times. So let me switch to my national language to be more precise about what I wanted to tell you. Dziś Premier Mark Rutte
Today, Prime Minister Mark Rutte becomes Secretary General at NATO as he opens a new chapter in the history of
konfrontując się z nowymi
alliance
historycznymi wyzwaniami.
and as he confronts new historic
Jednocześnie
challenges.
Niejako równolegle
At the
odbywa się
same
proces
time,
konstytuowania
in
nowej Komisji
parallel,
Europejskiej,
there's
która
the process of the new
stanie
European
przed obliczem
Commission
nie mniej
being
fundamentalnych
instituted,
wyzwań.
and the Commission will face
zagrożenia
equally
rosyjskiego
fundamental
imperializmu.
challenges in the face of the threat from Russian imperialism.
Szanowni Państwo, w naturalny sposób w ostatnich dniach
In recent
nasza uwaga
days,
skupiona
ladies and
była
gentlemen, our attention
dramatycznej
was
powodzi,
naturally
która dotknęła
focused
kraje
on the
europejskie,
tragic
dotknęła Polskę,
flood
klęski żywiołowe.
that impacted countries
Katastrofie,
in our neighborhood and Poland, which is a
której
disaster
spotykamy się przecież na otwarciu ścieżki defense. To właśnie siły zbrojne były tymi, które
where
stanęły
the
na wysokości zadania,
Polish
realizując
armed forces rose to
bezpośrednią
the
akcję
challenge,
ratowniczą.
and they
Stan
were
klęski
crucial
żywiołowej jest właśnie
in
takim stanem,
the
który
rescue
papierek lakmusowy
operations.
sprawdza.
A natural disaster
Zdolności struktur
is an
dowodzenia,
example of a situation
komunikacji,
that's a litmus
reagowania,
test
planowania.
for
To właśnie w
our
katastrofie
abilities to react in a
odporność
crisis
państwa
and to
testowana jest
tackle problems like
najbardziej
these.
wiarygodny
It
sposób.
is in crisis where the responsibility
klęsk żywiołowych,
and the capabilities of a state are tested to their utmost.
napięć politycznych,
We
konfliktów.
have natural disasters, we have political
Będzie jeszcze
tension,
wiele.
and
Ale to
there will
nie
be more to
może
come.
stanowić
But
usprawiedliwienia, byśmy
that
tracili
cannot
ostrość
be an
widzenia.
excuse for us to
Zgubili
lose
fokus
focus.
na najważniejsze,
And the
egzystencjalne
focus
zagrożenia
must
regionu.
be on the most important existential threats which arises in the East.
Szanowni Państwo, wojna jest niczym
Ladies
innym
and
jak
gentlemen,
katastrofa.
war is a disaster. It's a planned disaster.
Zaciszu czyjejś czaszki w mrocznym
It's something that has been planned in an office at Kremlin,
dla którego ani Komisja Europejska,
and that's the reason
ani
why
Sojusz Północnoatlantycki
the
nie mogą
European
stać
Commission and NATO must not lose their focus on the threat from the Russian imperialism, irrespective of any other crises.
I pozwolę
And that
sobie odnieść się
is one of the reasons
do takich 3 fraz, których
why I would like to
minister obrony bardzo
refer
często używa w swoich wystąpieniach. One
to
wybrzmiały
the
również.
3 statements that our Minister of Defense often refers to, and he has mentioned them today.
Przyjąć w kontynuacji
What I'm thinking about
państwa.
are the priorities that should be followed in how our defense capabilities and armed forces are
Szanowni
developed in
Państwo,
the
to właśnie
future.
powód, dla którego rok temu podjęliśmy
That is the reason why
by
a
państwa
year
wysłać
ago
na siłownię.
we decided to send our country to a gym to
Gotowości do obrony
train,
sojuszu,
to get fit, and to prepare to defend not just itself but also our neighbors and the whole
najwyższy budżet
alliance. 4.5% GDP went to the armed forces. That was the historically highest
najpierw budowę
percentage of GDP. And this is like a gym, like going to a gym. You work on your fitness, and this is what we're doing by the extensive purchases of military equipment. But this is not enough. We need to create a new architecture for our army, for our command and control,
i ta
and work is ongoing on that. Now, the unplanned disaster, the natural disaster we faced recently, shows where we have to work on improving things. Secondly, we need to improve and expand our defense industry. And it is here, at Warsaw Security Forum, that politics, the military, and the business intersect. And business, the defense industry, has to be the foundation of any country, especially on the eastern flank. And again, like when you go to the gym, it's not just a New Year's resolution, which maybe lasts until the 6th of January. If you have a voucher, if you have a membership card for a gym, it has to go on for decades in this case. No state can afford to lose its focus on the threat from the east. It's the same with the European Commission, ladies and gentlemen. It's the same with Europe. When the new European Commission is created, we will restart the very deep debate about either deepening the integration of the EU or defending sovereignty. Given the threats that the Republic of Poland faces, we need to have our sovereignty understood in a modern way. We have known sovereignty for many hundreds of years, but we also didn't have it for many years. It was taken away from us. It's an ultimate sovereignty where you can continue the life of your country whilst remaining in a strong alliance that brings together economic and defense ties. But our sovereignty has to be strong, and should an alliance not guarantee our safety and security, then the country itself has to guarantee safety and security to its citizens and to the eastern flank of NATO. This type of sovereignty is all about diagnosing the threats correctly. I suppose we'll all agree that the distribution of threats is not proportional across all of Europe. If we agree about that, then it follows logically that the involvement of the European Commission in terms of defense capabilities and financial support should be focused also, not proportionally, more on the 12 countries on the eastern flank, because it is on the eastern flank that defense capabilities have to be developed significantly, and the equipment used for that can be manufactured anywhere in the EU, but it has to be focused on the eastern flank. That's a guarantee of our safety and security, because we focused on national military operations that are coordinated across the alliance. So the defense fund of the European Union is all about developing the capabilities, and I'm very happy to have equipment manufactured in Western Europe purchased and used in the East, because it is the Eastern countries that are the guarantor of safety and security for the rest of Europe. We often hear people say that Poland is buying equipment, that the military is obtaining equipment, but that is not enough. Owning equipment is like having a car. You can own a car, but then when you do the fighting, it's all about the skills that you have and if you know how to use it. A great challenge for the Polish armed forces is to lead to a point where the Polish armed forces and the Allied armed forces don't just own equipment, but they master the equipment. They must have mastered the skills and the capabilities of using every single F-35, Abrams, Apache, all the way to the Grot assault rifle on the level of an individual soldier. It's not enough to purchase equipment. If you have a medieval knight, it's not enough to buy more swords. It's all about the skill with which you wield the sword. And the same
to master the equipment which you have.
Pertains to this phrase that we hear from our American allies, which is to master the equipment that you have, and that should be our focus. And finally, a third pillar, and this is something that our Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, often repeats, and the President of Poland also supports this statement, which is to build consensus and understanding wherever it's necessary and critical. It's about building national unity wherever it's necessary for the survival of the state, wherever it's necessary for the very existence of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not naive anymore. The past 3 years have very effectively cured me of being naive. And now I know that you cannot reach consensus in politics. The political debate will always continue. It's also true about other countries. There is polarization. But it's our raison d'etre to develop a culture and a system of organization that will allow for the continuation of the strategic thoughts above the political divisions. And the same has to pertain to the EU, not just to an individual country. And it's particularly important within our closest allies, which are the 12 countries that joined the EU as a group and that are all located on the eastern flank. So we need to have an organizational culture, and we have to have the necessary solutions that make it possible to have this continuation of the strategic thought and for charting the right course across these stormy waters. And we might have wind from port or wind from starboard, and we might have a different person at the helm every 4 years, but we need to maintain the course, and we have to keep using this membership card at the gym. And I think this is probably the best place to talk about these things. Warsaw Security Forum brings together the different political circles, people of business and the military personnel, and this is our gym. This is where we work out, and we have to follow up on that. And we will have to follow up on that, because we'll have to change many things, starting from central administration through the headquarters of our command forces, the headquarters of each and every division, brigade, down to an individual soldier. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will find that necessary dialogue here at Warsaw Security Forum. Hopefully you'll talk about the continuation of the strategic thought, and I wish the organizers every success, just like the European conference during Cold War, because the challenges are not smaller than they were during the Cold War. And right now, as the new leadership of the Alliance and of the European Union is emerging, I hope this will be done. And for the sake of my country, I hope we keep to this charted course. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. As our speakers have emphasized, close cooperation